And welcome everyone to a special edition of Marcus Sims Media. I'm your host, Marcus Sims, and what we're going to do for this next 30 minutes is we're going to bring you the summer of positivity in the 256, doing a special series of interviews where we're going to put the emphasis on things positive, uplifting, and informing, very similar to what we do on WJB's Yo Just Checking In. But we definitely just want to address ideas, concepts, and knowledge that will make you have just a better day, a better hour, a better day at work, maybe expand on the family life. So the whole nine. If you have any questions, concerns, maybe you have someone that you'd like to have me interview, feel free to contact me at planet_sims@yahoo.com. And also check out some of the great interviews that we've done on my YouTube channel. That's Marcus Sims Media on YouTube. Doing a lot of diverse things this summer, so just glad to do that. And so for those that follow the journey, I like to be transparent. I definitely like to be transparent. So I'm going to say this. My special guest is really a person dear to me because she's patient enough to give me a part two. Because I will just being transparent, the first one went nowhere. It literally went nowhere because when you interview someone, you're like, hey, where's the whole interview at? And guess what? I have literally 2 seconds of the interview recorded because I like hit the button, start, stop, start, and I didn't. That's where you don't read anything right. So I want to thank my special guest for coming back on with me again a week later. She is a life coach, a best-selling author. She's also a ghostwriter. She's a fashionista. If you don't know, check out the fly earrings that she's rocking right now. I'm trying to think of she's a public speaker. She's a motivational speaker. She's involved with so many different things. And we're going to talk self-care with my special guest, Toya Poplar. Toya, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Once again, we can't stay away from each other.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Again, right, for part two, because yeah, that's a real funny thing. But you know what? We're doing it again. And once again, just thank you so much. Now, one of the reasons also I want to have you on here, not only are you just a wealth of knowledge and just a great individual, but of course, as we're wrapping up the month of May, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And this is something that's near and dear to me and should be really near and dear to everyone's household. Now, what we want to touch on in a few moments, we're going to touch on your self care book, which is a very important thing to do when you're talking about your mental health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your financial health. But if you're not taking care of yourself, aka self care, all that, almost in a lot of ways, I would think wouldn't even matter. So we're going to talk about the self care book that you can get at Toya's website, and that's toyapoplar.com. You can get a free download of her self care kit. Great thing to check out. But before we go any further, Toya, I need to know your origin story. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, Marcus. I am a creative life coach and certified Enneagram coach. I started life coaching back in 2019. And what I found was I spent a lot of time teaching people the language of empathy. And when people become fluent in the language of empathy, it allows them to handle others with care. And I just have been really fortunate to be a woman who wears many hats. And one of those hats, as you referenced earlier, is that I'm a designer. And I had the privilege of going to New York Fashion Week with my earring line, Fly Earrings by Toya. And Marcus, although it was absolutely amazing, what I found was that you can have something really awesome going on in your life, and it can be like a real healthy form of stress. But stress is stress nonetheless. And what I found was I hit a wall and I faced burnout. I had heard people talk about burnout, but I didn't realize like burnout is a real thing. And so I started to self care my way out of burnout through some forms of art therapy and just self regulation techniques. And what I found was that these are things that can benefit everybody. So why not create a self care toolkit that could be a blessing to others and help them preempt hitting that wall of burnout? So that's what the self care toolkit consists of. And as a mom of six and a wife to my high school sweetheart, I just found that there is nothing like learning how to prioritize you because as women, as a woman of color, I've had a lifetime of kind of sacrificing myself while serving everybody else. And so this self-care toolkit just helps me to encourage others to prioritize their own well-being.
Toya, and I have to ask this, going further because I know a lot about your family, somewhat. Is it true that in order to be a member of your family, everyone has to have a talent? Like you don't have like that one person whose talent is just napping. Because I mean, you have such a if you know the family, they do everything. I don't know, like such a talented family. So I just salute you from your husband, who's a lyricist, to your children. Is that a demand that you have to have an artistic talent, or you'll put them out the house? Because that's really weird if that is, and mean. That's
You
really
know what,
mean.
Marcus? That is mean indeed. It's funny. Yesterday, Trinity asked me, she said, Mom, when you were little, did you ever think about the type of mom you would be? And I said, yeah, I wanted to be a creative mom and I wanted to give my kids the tools that they would need to create because I knew what it was like as a kid to want to create and not have the tools and resources that you needed to do so. And so she was like, wow, Mama, you did it. And so, yeah, I think that's why my kids all happen to be creative is because we put the tools in their hands and encourage them to carve out their own extraordinary life.
As we know, as I mentioned before, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month. But this is one of the great topics and information that can be carried on throughout the summer, throughout the fall, throughout the year. Mental health is a very serious thing. Troy, with your self care kit, first and foremost, define what is self care for someone. What is self care?
So, self care, Marcus, in my definition, is prioritizing your own well being according to your unique personality type and preferences because nobody knows what you need like you do.
Okay. So definitely one of the things. So definitely no one knows what you need. Won't no one knows what you need to go through. Self-care could be watching a movie, could be going taking a long walk, it could be exercising, it could be reading a book, singing a song, taking a hot bath, those type of things, right?
Yes, sir. And not all self-care is created equal. Just because your bestie might find that, getting their nails done or their hair done or a spa day is self-care, it doesn't negate that your form of self-care might be going to the local library and reading a book. So just knowing that based on your virtues and vices, your self-care plan can be as unique as you are.
Awesome, awesome. So now, at what point did you sit here and decide that you wanted to put together the self-care kit? Now, I want to remind everyone, if you go to toyapoplar.com, you can sign up for it. It'll come to you as a quick download, free 100. So that's the real cool thing about it. But at what point did you sit there and say, I want to do a self-care kit?
You know what? It was December 25th of 2023. I thought for my birthday this year, I want to give people the very gift that I'm in need of. And so I sat down and started working on it on Christmas Day. And that was kind of my treat to myself. We don't really do a traditional Christmas in my household. So I spent my whole Christmas day working on my self care toolkit. My birthday is a few days after Christmas. And so I hosted a workshop for my friends that their their like their party favor was the self-care toolkit. And so I just thought, I don't know of a single person who doesn't need self-care. And what better time than the top of the year? The culmination of one year and entering into another year. So that self-care toolkit has a few components like, things that help you create your vision board or writing a letter to your future self. I just thought it was the perfect time to give a gift to my friends that would be a gift that would keep on giving.
Now let's jump right to it. Of course, mental health, self-care is a huge thing. Toya, could you give someone? We're going to talk about self-care for young adults in a few moments, but as adults, we go through a lot, and sometimes we don't even take self care serious. In fact, one of the questions, the additional questions that I had was, do you even see in the African American community, in the Black community, do we, from what you've been able to see, do we do a good job of self care? Are we doing better at it, or is it something that we need to kind of tighten up a little bit in the self care area? How do you feel about that?
I, I agree. I think that it's becoming more popular in recent years, but I think that we have a long way to go in terms of individualized self-care. I think in theory, we can kind of emulate and duplicate what we see other people's renditions of self-care being. But I think that culturally, there are some unique forms of self-care, like curating spaces that are all Black spaces to where you can just be fully vulnerable and transparent about some of the microaggressions that we experience. That's just my personal opinion, is that I think that, like I said before, not all self-care is created equal, and where somebody's form of self-care might be, vacationing
Hmm.
at some elaborate vacation. I think that making self-care something that doesn't have to be something that causes you to accumulate debt is important. Allowing self-care to be a blessing that makes you rich and adds no sorrow is a priority, and we can do that in real practical ways. And so I think that rather than looking at this big, broad perspective of self-care, these giant brushstrokes of self-care, building an element of rest into our everyday lives that is a routine is really important.
Right, definitely. I know that's one of the things I definitely practice on my own. It's one of those things now, self care. I think it became more popular the past few years to acknowledge and look at that we need to do self care a little more. I think that's kind of become a popular thing, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I know I would encourage folks start practicing at a very early age and reinvest in you with your self care. I always tell folks, you water people so much, um, water into yourself or invest into yourself a little bit. Toya, can you give us, if you for adults, could you give us 3 ways that they could practice self-care for the folks, we'll say 25 and up?
Absolutely. I would say for adults, um, for one, understanding that self-care is not selfish. I think before we can even start talking about what self-care is, it's important to talk about what it is not, and it is not selfish. I think that sometimes as adults, it can be the hardest thing for us to acknowledge that we have needs or that we're needy. So just being vulnerable enough to own that self-care is not selfish, it's essential. So
Hmm.
one of the first ways that I think adults can start to practice self care is by stop postponing their dreams and to just start pursuing their goals. I think that sometimes we experience stress because of the things that we haven't done. We activate envy every time we log on to a device and we're scrolling and we're seeing other people seemingly living their best lives. And we feel like we have this lackluster existence. So I think that carving out margin to stretch your hand towards pursuing your goals is actually a form of self care. And I know, Marcus, that might sound like work, but the reality is that work exists because we prioritize it and we put it on the schedule. So if
Hmm.
we want our dreams to come to fruition, we have to make it a priority and put it on the schedule. So sometimes self-care could be scaling back and creating margin so that you can stretch your hand towards that thing that's been burning in your heart for years. So that's two things in one. Stop postponing your dreams and start pursuing your goals. But secondly, creating margin, setting boundaries so that you can have the margin to free up some mental hard drive space to do that thing that is in your heart.
Wow,
Oh,
and
and
that.
number three,
Hmm. Hmm.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no,
No, I
go
want to
ahead.
hear
I'm
what you
sorry.
have to say.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was,
I
I
was
was
going to
one of the
say,
things that you said last time was you said the ability to say no. I thought that was just so cool. Like I wanted to get a button, a hat, a poster, take out a billboard on University Drive that it's okay to say no. Could you expound on that?
yes, I can. No is a complete sentence. No is It's okay to say no. One time I attended a mental health workshop, Marcus, on better help. And one of the things that the facilitator said, she said, y'all are all here because you struggle to say no. And everybody agreed. And she said, you can say no. And she gave the example, Marcus, of does anyone own their house? Does anyone own their car? And everybody was like, yes. And she said, okay, can I have your car? And they were like, no. And so people really emphatically began to say no based on what she was saying. And it was a paradigm shift because you realize that if you can guard these things fiercely, then how much more can you do that in your personal life? Like
Right.
when you take that tangible thing that you've got all this equity invested in, it's easy to say no. But if you start to see your life and your mental hard drive space in the same sense, even when you reference me ghostwriting, sometimes I forget that I ghostwrite, but then I remind myself I'm also an Airbnb owner. And in the same way, Marcus, that I would never let someone come and squat in my property, I had to prioritize my knowledge work to where I'm not allowing people to occupy mental hard drive space in my mind. I can't allow a client to squat in my thoughts in the same way that I wouldn't allow an individual to come and squat in my property. So I had to set a boundary around that and monetize that so that I'm not giving something that I can't afford to give that in turn leaves me displaced.
Wow. So we are here with ghostwriter, life coach, best-selling author, and fashionista. Check out the really dope earrings that she's rocking right now. Airbnb owner, and I think also when I'm finding out that she's also on the weekends a ninja. So I mean, a lot of hats that my guest Toya Poplar wears, and she does them all to an excellent extent. So we want to thank her. ToyaPoplar.com is the website for more information. And of course, we're putting the emphasis on the power of positivity in the 256. And I want to thank her so much for joining us. Toya, we talked about some self care tips for adults, but of course, they're minors, and I'm around students a lot. Of course, you're around young people. What are a couple tips that you would give for, we'll say, 25 and under, the young people, some self care that they can do? I think we may have froze for a moment.
Okay, I can hear you again, Marcus.
Okay, yeah. So what about young people? What tips could the young people practice to help with their self care? What tips would you recommend?
So for students, I would say stop your scroll and take back control. I think it's so important to um, be a producer of technology and not just a consumer of technology. So, for those students who are listening, it's okay for you to log off and start living. I think is really, really important for young people. I'm also a certified Enneagram coach. And one thing I know about personalities, Marcus, is that your personality type starts to form in your early 20s. And I think that that's an important time to start to hone and cultivate your emotional intelligence because self-awareness is so important. As we raise our awareness, we can increase our self-acceptance. So I think that's really important for young people is to find out who you are and how you show up in the world and what's your center of intelligence and make that something that's such a personal journey so that as you grow, like bodies in motion tend to remain in motion. So if you develop a fitness routine and regimen right now, that's going to allow your body in your 20s to be able to support you in your 40s. I think that that's really important. It's just not allowing these devices, like you have the world's knowledge at your fingertips. That's something that we didn't have when we were at their age stage. So we cultivated a lot of skill sets that are certain, like starting to be left off. So I would say spend time being present in people's presence. Be where your feet are. Get out of the house. Make sure that even in the midst of you utilizing this technology, that it's a tool that you use, but you don't allow it to use you.
Wow, definitely. And then also, if you're under the age of 25 and you want to work on your self-care, I would like to suggest go to toyapoplar.com and download her self-care kit. I think it'll help you out a lot in that area. And in all honesty, I think it would be a great thing. I think if you're looking for something to give to maybe a high school graduate, a college graduate, if you're dealing with someone who's stressed out, maybe you know a coworker who's going through something, because what I like about it is a very interactive kit. It's something that you could get through it in the day, but the information is something that will last with you a lifetime. It's great information for the ladies in your life, the men in your life, the young adults in your life, because we all deal with something and we all kind of need that little boost in self-care. And that's what I really appreciate with the information that Toya is doing. Toya, what do you do for your self-care? What's something that you do?
So for my self-care, Marcus, I love grounding. I make sure that I spend at least 20 minutes each day just connecting with the earth, taking my shoes off and putting my feet in the grass. I know it's something that's so old school, but it's so beneficial on so many levels. So I love grounding. I love reading. I don't know if you've been to Brown Books and More Bookstore in Decatur,
Yes.
Alabama, Black-owned
Janelle.
bookstore. It's one of my, I love Janelle Brown, and her bookstore is my happy place. So I spend a lot of time there. In fact, I hosted my self-care workshop at Brown Books and More, and my friends loved it so much. That's why I made it available to all my clients and just to everybody, because it resonated. But I love to read. And Marcus, I'm a girl. I'm from the Midwest, grew up on Lake Michigan. I love water, all bodies of water. I love water. So if I can get to the lake, that's my ultimate form of self-care. But I want to say that self-care does not have to be expensive. I think that's really important to express that self-care silence is something that is free. And silence is my jam. I love music, I love the arts, but my favorite sound is actually silence.
Wow, wow. So as we're wrapping everything up, Troy, one of the things also that real quickly one of the things in the book, at one point, if I'm correct, you kind of had some self affirmations, some things that you could tell yourself, kind of reinforce some positive. Can you share a few of those for those that are watching or listening right now? Because these are all things that I think we all need to tell ourselves every day, whether we look in the mirror or we have someone else telling us that, because I think we forget that we can also promote positivity with the words we say and the actions that we put out there. So, could you give us a couple of the affirmations that are included in your self care toolkit available at toyapoplar.com?
Absolutely. So what I love, Marcus, is just our ability to, you can change your mindset and you can change your world. And so I have some affirmations. One just simply says, I am kind, I am brave, I am special, I am strong, I am worthy, I am enough, I am amazing, I am resilient, I am important. And so, in addition to affirmations, I have things that just remind you that it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have to redo your podcast 2 weeks in a row. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be yourself. And it's okay to do what's best for you.
Amen. Amen. Now, those are just a few of the affirmations that you can get from the toolkit. We just wanted to give you really a sample of all that because there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of information that we could go over. But what I wanted to do was to touch on the toolkit, especially as May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're wrapping it up. So if you're watching this in the month of June, well, guess what? Use the information for great Juneteenth information. And if you're watching it in July, it could be Independence Day information. And if it's in the month of August, you probably need a self-care book because you're sending the kids back to school. So you're going to need some self-care for that. So this is information that's going to be good all month, all seasons, you name it. It's some really great information. And I'm just honored and happy that Toya joined us once again for what we're kicking off the 256 Power Positivity Summer Series. We want to uplift you, hopefully think about some of the things that we talked about, add to your daily routine. Toya, of course, you can go to toyapoplar.com for more information. What do you have coming up?
So next for me would be practicing what I preach. I go away every June for a sabbatical so that I can write and chase sunsets and participate in my hometown's Black Wall Street celebration. So I'm looking forward to that. I also enjoy spending time with my kids. They come up for a week and we ride bikes and we go to all my hometown favorite. I get to eat vicariously through them. I can't eat that way anymore, but there's no reason they can't eat my favorite childhood pizza and pastries and whatnot. So that's what we do. That's what's coming up next for us. And also, I was nominated for the Queenpreneur Award. So, Marcus, I really want to take time to just beg our listeners to please go vote for me.
Right, like she
Go
deserves
vote
your
for me.
look, look. If you're watching this right now, go to the website and vote. If this interview didn't convince you of anything, you should vote for her for that. Look, she's promoting self care. We need it. So, what's the website right off the top of your head?
It is it's the Dare to Dream Queenpreneur Awards. It's a Queenpreneur's Plan. I believe it might be a queenpreneursplan.com, but you
Right.
can look on social media outlets. Look for Coach Latoya Whitfield. It's her
Okay.
organization. And Marcus, what I love about it is that you can vote for as many queenpreneurs as you so desire. So a lot of the same ladies who've been nominated are some of my favorite people. So that's the cool thing about this process is that you can vote for all your favorite people. And you get to vote once a day leading up to June 5th.
And what I think is so cool, Troy, is also I've seen some of the ladies that are nominated, and I can truly say these are women in our area that are making a difference. These aren't, these are women that are making a difference in our community, promoting positive things, much needed things. So go to Dare to Dream, Huntsville, Alabama. I'm sure if you like you're Google searching it and you're wondering where to find it, Dare to Dream, just type in Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm sure it'll come up. Queenpreneur, meshing together words Queen and Entrepreneur, bam, you get that. You got Queenpreneur, so kind of just look for that as well. And Latoya Whitfield, she's on all type of social media as well, so check it out. Vote for Toya Poplar. She's very deserving. She's a Queenpreneur and then some because she does a lot of things. She's a life coach, ghostwriter, fashionista, a best-selling author, a mother, a wife. And like I said, I think she's on the weekends, I mentioned before, a ninja. I mean, she's a hero. She's definitely a hero in this day and time when we need positivity, and she definitely promotes that. ToyaPoplar.com is the website where you can download for free 100 the self-care kit. I definitely, once again, I would recommend you doing that. uh, get it to someone who needs it. If you see someone who looks like they're having a stressful day or two, man, send them to that self-care site. Tell them to get it. If you know your maybe it's a family member's going through something, get it. Just get it. It could be, you know what? That could be one of those low-cost gifts that you give to someone. Hey, I want you to read this. Check this out. It's a great compilation of self-care tips. Toya, thank you so much for joining me for part two of the interview because the first one we had a whole like you could sneeze and the Zoom was over. So um, this time we mastered it. We got through it. That's the magic of technology. And this was the uh, Power Positivity 256 series. I'm Marcus Sims, Marcus Sims Media. Be sure to check us out at Marcus Sims Media on YouTube. And also, if you have like sponsorship info, or if you'd like to suggest a guest or topic, hit me up, planet_sims@yahoo.com. Toya, thank you so much. And I'll let you get back to doing your ninja business.
Listen, can I say something for the kiddos, Marcus?
Yes, of course.
Okay, guys, I'm so thankful that Marcus gave me the opportunity to share self-care tips for adults, for young adults. But I want to say to the
Oh,
kids, stay curious. Don't be in a hurry to grow up. I think that your childhood niche could be the thing that later on in life makes you rich. So just know that it's so important as a kid to just be a kid. Self-discovery is so important and self-regulation is important. The sooner you can learn to regulate your emotions, the more that can carry you throughout the rest of your life. So just remember that kids who are listening, the riches are in the niches. So find your niche right now as a kid, and you'll be amazed at how that can be a gift that just keeps on giving later on in life. Marcus, every bit of the creativity that you see me foster and impart into my own children, it's something that I developed as a kid. And I think that sometimes when programs get cut from school, things like
Right.
arts and crafts, it's so important because you don't know how that thing can later on in life become your form of self care that reduces stress and helps you be balanced in a world full of busy. So, thank you for letting me share. I love this power of positivity. So, thank you so much. If ever it was needed, it is now. And I just appreciate you, Marcus, for being the ambassador of authenticity that you are.
Toya, thank you so much and for the great energy, the great positivity that you bring. Of course, we work together um, for our fundraiser for our public radio, and I want to thank you again for that. You and just a talented cast of all-star women that work together, and that's the energy we like to generate up out here. And don't worry, there will be a sequel to that more sooner than later because that was very popular and highly requested. So we're going to have a sequel to that more sooner than later. I do once again want to say toyapoplar.com is the website where you can find out everything about Toya, the self-care kit, and also ways that you can follow her on social media. Once again, check out Marcus Sims Media on YouTube channel as well, or you can email me at planet_sims, SIMS, at yahoo.com. And that does it for this show. Toya, I think we killed it. No glitches so far. And that wraps up this show, Toya. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you.